Hello everyone, welcome to the Belt and Road Face to Face.
And by the establishment of such kind of economic zones, that will really help those people to improve their skills.
In the past 5 years, it's mainly bilateral cooperation between China and Pakistan.
The Rashkei is specifically the area which could be famous for the textile, food and beverages, and textile and food and everything.
Security, policy, and condition environment. When these fluid environments are there, then you can't stop foreign investment. There will be flood of foreign investment.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Belt and Road Face to Face. Our program is co-produced by China Economic Net and Wash News Television. I'm Wang Xiaotong from China Economic Net. Today I'm pleased to be joined in our studio by Dr. Sajid Khursheed, teacher at Canadian International School of Beijing, and Cheng Xizhong, visiting professor at Southwest University of Political Science and Law, former defense attaché in South Asia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's enter the first part, hotspot. A formal groundbreaking ceremony for Rashkei SEZ, the first project for implementation of industrial cooperation under CPEC, will be held soon. It will lead to the creation of around 200,000 jobs, and investment of multi-billion is expected from within the country and abroad. Rashkei Special Economic Zone is located in KP Province. That province has more backward regions and suffers from poverty. So what are the characteristics of that province, and how to development the local industries and improve people's livelihood?
The Rashkei is one of the area which is having a lower poverty, and the people's lifestyle is not that much up. And by the establishment of such kind of economic zones, that will really help those people to improve their skills and their economic stabilities. The Rashkei is specifically the area which could be famous for the textile, food and beverages, and textile and food and everything. And CPEC is one of the province which is the largest province, so-called as, where they are producing the wood and the tobacco all of the countries. The second part, 100,000 of acre of land has to be fixed for the establishment of the special economic zone, and that gives a lot more opportunities not only for the Chinese investors, even for the local investors, to boost their businesses and having one-to-one percentage of the doing businesses in all joint ventures together.
Mr. Chen.
Yeah, I think it's very encouraging. The first change is that for the infrastructure, we have invested a lot. Now we are coming to the development of industrial parks. That is production. That will produce a lot of things and improve also the capability of production and export. So this is a transition from investment to production. The second change is that in the past 5 years, it's mainly bilateral cooperation between China and Pakistan. Now with the industrial parks ready in the future, more and more investment from other countries will join the development. So there will be multilateral cooperation. So this is the second change. The third is with investment and technology coming from other countries to Pakistan, that will push Pakistan on the road of modernization and industrialization. The fourth change is that now with the one by one, the first one now it will be constructed. Then when the 9 industrial parks will be ready, a lot of people will be employed. The first one, according to some analysts, it is 2 lakh people will be employed. Then 9, if everyone has 2 lakh, then it's 1.8 million, or about 2 million people will be employed. I think more people will be employed. The last one is that with our leader, Deng Xiaoping, once said, development is the absolute principle. So with the development, then the people's livelihood problem, poverty, all these problems will be solved one by one with the development. I think these are mainly 5 changes coming in the future.
And China and Belarus have jointly built the China-Belarus Industrial Park for 4 years. And by now, there are more than 40 enterprises from 8 countries, for example, from China, from Belarus, from Germany, and the US have entered into that park. And the total contract investment has hit $1.1 billion US dollars. Yes. So how can the Russia-Kai Special Economic Zone learn from this successful experience, Mr. Sajid?
Yes, that's right. The CPEC, there was proposed 37 economic zones supposed to be established. And in the initial phase, we finalized the 9 economic zones to be established by 2030 in the long run. In the meantime, there are certain direct benefits and the indirect benefits. Because if we have establishing a joint economic zones, among the direct benefits, we have the foreign exchange earnings. The Chinese entrepreneurs, they can go to the Pakistan and establish their firms and making their own products. Even they can export those products, the excess products. Not only that can be used in our country. Similarly, the foreign direct investments. The Pakistan will get the foreign direct investments because the Chinese entrepreneurs and the individuals on organizations, they will bring their own investments and establish the industries. And also government revenue and exports growth will increase the total GDP of Pakistan, of course. That entirely impact a lot of impacts on the people of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and especially the people of the Rashkai, in fact. While among the indirect benefits, they are also including the skills upgradation. Because once we transferring the technology and infrastructure facilities and all other kind of things which the China has expertise to those regions, the people could be trained and they have more expertise in production and producing high quality products. Similarly, the second one is a transfer technology. Like the China has lots of latest methodologies of automation and the use of the information and communication technology. Those things like China, the mobile phone companies already in Pakistan. Huawei phones and ZTE phones and Zong phone is already there and they are competing with other companies. So it's really a good advantage for China as well as in Pakistan to work on these ground issues. Now the number of projects has been initiated, which is billions of projects by China and Pakistan in terms of under these special economic zones. And I think the economists, they are expecting by the growth of, by the establishment of these zones, the GDP will rise, the job opportunities, the living lifestyle of the people. That's a win-win situation for both the Chinese entrepreneurs and the Pakistani business community. And also by the long-term projects, once all of these special economic zones developed by 2030 approximately, there would be lots of development into the region.
Mr. Chen, do you agree with Mr. Sajid's points?
Yes, I think the examples we can learn some experience from that one, but we should not copy. But I feel this the industrial special economic zone, we can do a better job. This location, I've studied the location, has a lot of good points. That is about 70 kilometers away from the capital, so very close to Islamabad. Yeah, and 40 kilometers from Peshawar, the provincial capital. And this is also very close, just along the middle part of the M1 express highway. So the communication is very convenient, and it is close to the two big cities. This location is, has borders. This province, it has borders with the Xinjiang region, and also close to Iran and Afghanistan. So when produce, you have production, a lot of industrial products, then you can easily export to Xinjiang region, to the neighboring countries, and also very close to the Central Asia. So the export of the products will have no problems. The fifth point is that now this first industrial park is in the relatively backward province. That means the government attaches great importance to the development of the poor areas. So that is now what Prime Minister Imran Khan has stressed again and again, now elevation of poverty. The last point, sixth point, is that this industrial park is actually a key project of One Belt and Road. And it can also be, as you said, can be a center for training, and a center of modern, industry, and also technology transfer. This can also be a highland of technology development. So this I think, if we can do a good job of this project, that can be an example for other projects. So I also wish success to this project.
Yes.
I would like to add one more thing. Professor was absolutely right, because the location of Rashkai area is very close not only to the capital, even it's very close to the north. It's part of the north side, and if you look at the location of Pakistan, it moving towards the Sust border, which is the part of the China-Pakistan border. Mm-hmm. So in that way, that the Chinese and the Pakistani products and commodities can be transferred by road, even, not only by ship or by other means of transportation. So, and also that the Afghan border is very close to that. And the rest of the other countries, including the Russian federations and everything. So this is an ideal situation, an ideal location for not only to establish the economic zones, so the entire region will get benefit for this economic zones.
Whatever.
Now let's get to the Vash studio to see what they are concerned about.
मुल्की और दरमुल्की सरमायाकारा पाकिस्तान है स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन और इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क के दिलगोशिया छे वड़े राबंद कारबंदग लूटी.
Now, especially when I was in Nepal, the Nepali government, would like to encourage foreign investment. Actually, as I see, foreign investment, we don't have to encourage. If we have free conditions, we prepare, the security environment. If the security environment is good enough, if the policy environment is good enough, that means the government has a lot of a series of good policies. Then the third is ground condition environment. That means we have prepared the roads, we have prepared the power and the water, everything. This is condition environment. So I stress security, policy, and the condition environment. When these free environments are there, then you can't stop foreign investment. There will be flood of foreign investment.
Welcome to the Belt and Road Face to Face.
And the problem is that how to increase export, because our Pakistani friends are more concerned about the export to Chinese market.
One of the best option is to relocation of its labor industries from China to Pakistan, especially in terms of the economic zones. And like China has producing a lot of a huge market of producing any kind of products.
Now China has become number one producer, number one exporter of cars in the world.
You are watching the Belt and Road Face to Face. Let's enter the second part figure. Under the implementation of the second phase of the China-Pakistan FTA, the two countries will gradually liberalize 75% of their total tariff lines, which will be at zero duty, compared with 35% in the previous version. So how do you interpret this set of data, Mr. Chen?
Actually, we have already almost everything. And the problem is that, how to increase export, because our Pakistani friends are more concerned about, the export to Chinese market. Chinese market is no problem because we have a big population, 1.4 billion Chinese people.
1/4 of the total world's population.
Yeah.
Almost.
So I say if everybody eats one mango, so you can export 1.4 billion mangoes. I don't think you have so much mango. So market in China for Pakistani products, there is no problem. The real problem is that your capacity of production. Now you mainly export fruit, agricultural products. These things, as we did in last century, with the developed countries in the West, we could make a little money. For one Boeing aircraft, how many pieces of clothes we had to export during that time. Then now China is more developed. We have a lot of industrial products. For example, the car industry, we had almost zero car industry. And with so many foreign production lines in China, and little by little we try to indigenize. Now I think 70 to 80% in indigenization. Now China has become number one producer, number one exporter of cars in the world. I think with the development of the industrial parks, not only 9 in the future. I think this is the first phase. You have 9. Then after 9, you have more and more. Then the whole country will become modern cities, industrialized. Then by that time, Pakistan will be in a very strong position to produce high technology industrial products. So we join hands. I wish in the future you will have that kind of favorable balance of foreign trade.
Yes, we noticed that the level of trade liberalization will be more than doubled. So what does it mean to China and Pakistan?
The Pakistan is not the part of ASEAN, and where the China is providing the incentives and to the trade partners in the ASEAN countries. But in order to narrow down the trade deficit between Pakistan and China, one of the best option is to relocation of its labor industries from China to Pakistan, especially in terms of the economic zones. And like China has producing a lot of a huge market of producing any kind of products. So in that way, the special economic zones can play a very important role. If you look at it like the cars example, there are a few brands of cars, there are international brands there, but there's way less market of the Chinese brand cars in Pakistan. If we establish those industries from Pakistan to China and economic zones or anywhere else in industrial parks, that I think would be going to be a great market for the Pakistani local market. And also the benefit of Pakistan and China trade liberalization, I think there are a few points I would like to highlight, including trade and economic cooperation. Of course, CPEC is part of that. Promoting bilateral economic relationship, this is what we are working and doing since years. Promoting the Chinese language and the culture. In Pakistan, there are almost 4 Confucius Institutes, where the Pakistani people, they just go and learn the Chinese language. Similarly, in Beijing, there are around 4 to 5 universities where the Chinese students doing bachelor's and master's in Pakistani Urdu language. So this kind of thing that really gives a very great impression, and a chance for all other Asian countries to get the benefit from these all of these kind of things. So in order to find the more important things, to establish those industries from one country to other in the special economic zones would be a great advantage.
And for balance, I don't think we have to try to solve the balance problem in a difficult way. I remember one minister of your government has once said with one country we have unfavorable balance,
yes,
but with another country we have favorable balance. We should try to achieve balance, general balance, not with a particular country. If the general balance is achieved, then that is the achievement.
Yes. Now let's get to the WASH studio to see what they are concerned about.
आयोके रोचा चीनियो पाकिस्तानी ग्राहक चा यकदिगरे मुल्का कुजाम प्रोडक्ट बागेरगे उम्मीदा दाशकुत कना
China has expertise in lots of areas, as we discussed, like textile, technology, housing, infrastructure. Similarly, Pakistan has expertise in agriculture and sports goods, rice, yarn, sugar, and all other stuff, the dental surgical equipments. This is what we had discussed already, like the Pakistani rice, sugar, and yarn is exporting to China, is one of the best rice and best sugar, in fact. And so these these special economic zones, once boosting with the help of the technology, with the skilled laborers, even we can not only import and export between these two countries, we can export to the rest of the region and even the rest of the world.
Welcome to the Belt and Road Face-to-Face. Chopsticks etiquette is an expression of ancient Chinese civilization. In China, when chopsticks are placed on the table and everyone is ready to eat, if the elders don't use the chopsticks, the children cannot use them first.
When I came in Beijing 2004, the very first thing that I learned is that how to use the chopsticks.
Especially, when traditionally we have 3 generations or 4 generations at the same table, a very big table.
We have to hold the first chopstick on, which is my way actually. In some of the games, there were 2 baskets. They put the ping pong balls in it and the big size, and they ask the chopstick to take one and put it in the second basket. Also, that's a bit difficult because it's big size as compared to the beans and other stuff.
You are watching the Belt and Road Face-to-Face. Let's enter the third part, culture. Chopsticks, which are commonly used by the Chinese people, are still a Chinese symbol. Many Pakistanis who come to work and live in China are curious about how to use the chopsticks. Let's take a look at the chopsticks culture through a video. Chopsticks etiquette is an expression of ancient Chinese civilization. In China, when chopsticks are placed on the table and everyone is ready to eat, if the elders don't use the chopsticks, the children cannot use them first. This is to show respect for the elders. When you dip in with the chopsticks, you shouldn't place the chopsticks here and there in the plate. When you are having your meal, you shouldn't use the chopsticks to tap the plate. When you finish eating, you shouldn't put the chopsticks on the bowl. Instead, you need to put them on the table side by side. Chinese parents are used to teaching by personal examples, and children change their behaviors gradually. To this day, chopsticks are still a must-have kitchenware for Chinese people, and as one of the symbols of Chinese culture, they appear on the table around the world. With the progress of the Belt and Road construction, many foreign friends put chopsticks, round on one end, square on the other, symbolizing round heaven and square earth, into the suitcase. In some countries, people learn Chinese dining etiquette practice using chopsticks and taste Chinese cuisine and appreciate the rich culture behind. Chopsticks have become an important way for improving people-to-people bond and building bridges for mutual learning between civilizations. Ms. Sajid, are you good at using chopsticks?
Yes, for sure. I remember when I came in Beijing 2004, the very first thing that I learned is that how to use the chopsticks. Because at that time, there were restaurants when we go outside, and some of them, they don't have the spoons and forks. So we have to eat with the chopsticks. But I tell you one thing, but not only now, it's in Pakistan, in most of the countries, it becomes very common and famous to use chopsticks in restaurants. If you go to the Pakistani restaurants, Chinese restaurants, of course, they offer the chopsticks there. But if you go to the Pakistani restaurants, some of them, they offer the chopsticks. And the people, they would love to use the chopsticks. And I remember most of my family members, my friends, relatives, they visited sometimes. And always they love to buy a pair of chopsticks, good ones. And whenever I go back to my country as a gift, the souvenir, I always buy the chopsticks for them or the Chinese tea to give them and they're using this in our country. That's for sure.
And in China, when the chopsticks are placed on the table, if the elders do not move the chopsticks, the young people cannot move the chopsticks. This is the Chinese way to show the respect. So there are many these kinds of etiquettes in China. Mr. Chen, could you share more?
Yesterday I checked. I think we have hundreds of rules. Just now, the Pakistani friend has mentioned several. Especially, when traditionally we have 3 generations or 4 generations at the same table, a very big table. Yeah. Then the senior most, the grandfather, he was sitting in the main chair, and all the children, the next generation and the 3rd generation, 4th generation, they all observe, and at the table. We should not talk. We should not talk, and it should be quiet. This is the first. Then the second is that we have a lot of dishes. Then the first dish should be served to the senior most. Also, the whole all the dishes. If the senior most does not touch this dish and that dish, then the other people should dare not. The grandfather is highly respected, the senior most.
Now let's get to the Vash student to see what they are concerned about.
चिमे मड़ादारे मेहमान में मालू का चॉपस्टिक के इस्तेमाल गेगाना पेशदाश्त खुद करना.
So, Mr. Sajid or Mr. Chen, who would want?
Of course, I'm not Chinese. Professor can give me the right direction. But whatever the things I have learned, like these 2 chopsticks, the sticks in fact, having of the same size mostly. And the way of using is like we have to hold the first chopstick on, which is my way actually, maybe yours is different. So with the thumb and the last 2 fingers, and thumb and the other 2 fingers, the index finger and the middle finger, we just use it and just pick up everything. So the lower chopsticks remains constant, fixed, while the upper chopsticks we can move in. But make sure that these 2 chopsticks have a same length, same diameter. Yeah. But if you have like short ones or longer ones, it's impossible almost to get the stuff, and you remain hungry then.
Okay, the last point I would like to tell the Pakistani friends how to learn chopsticks. Actually, it's kind of natural learning. Babies use this way, all this way, all that way. The babies start this way.
Even this way?
Yeah.
1, 2 on each edge.
And actually, when I teach my foreign friends how to use chopsticks, I think it's quite easy. Have a plate of small beans. It's better to have round and slippery, this kind of beans, a plate of beans. Then try to get it one by one. When the whole plate is completed, you will have learned it.
You learn it. Yes, absolutely right. And I've joined some of the games. There were 2 baskets. They put the ping pong balls in it and the big size, and they ask the chopstick to take one and put it in the second basket. Also, that's a bit difficult because it's big size as compared to the beans and other stuff. But it's really, I must say that it's really a great skill to using the chopsticks, especially for those people who are not familiar with that. Anyone in my country even love to use the chopsticks.
Thank you for your 2 sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Belt and Road Face to Face, and thank you for coming to our show today.
Thank you.
See you next time.